Let's get started with our first story. Paulo Costa has once again sent a very direct and fiery message to Khamzat. This isn't the first time Costa has tried to get under Khamzat's skin, but this time it feels more personal. Costa has been targeting Kamzat for months, and he's made it clear that he has unfinished business with the Chechen star. Even before his fight with Roman Kopylov, Costa was talking about Kamzat, planting the seed that one day the two would eventually clash. Now, after Kamzat has captured the belt and become the newly crowned champion, Costa has only intensified his pursuit. He continues to take shots, keeping his name attached to Kamzat's at every possible opportunity, ensuring that fans, media, and the UFC matchmakers don't forget about him. During his latest appearance on the Ariel Helwani show, Costa unleashed one of his most aggressive callouts yet. He stared into the camera, delivering his words with complete confidence and conviction. "Mother, look, you know who I am," he said with a smirk. "I'm coming for you. You can hide as much as you want, but I know how to fight you. You're gonna rush me just like you always do. You're gonna shoot for my legs, try to take me down, try to do your thing. I know that. I expect that. I am ready for that. But here's the difference. We have 5 rounds. I'm gonna make you pay for every single takedown attempt. Every single time you shoot on my legs, you'll suffer. My coach Eric Albarracin has taught me exactly how to punish you in those situations. I will make you pay, and once we're back on the feet, I'm gonna hurt you so badly that you'll want to quit, but I will not let you quit. I'll keep going until the referee has to step in. I'm coming for you, and I will defeat you." This wasn't just typical trash talk. Costa went one step further by actually demonstrating how he would beat Kamzat. He physically showed in front of cameras the techniques he believed would neutralize Kamzat's wrestling-heavy approach. Costa explained, "Once he shoots, and I know he's gonna shoot in the very first second of the fight, I'll block his head, drive the knee, and stop him right there. Then he'll try again and again, but every time he tries, he'll lose more energy. Eventually, he'll get tired, and when he's tired, that's when I'll start landing shots, head, body, everywhere. Even if he does manage to take me down, he won't be able to hold me there. As soon as my butt hits the ground, I'll stand back up and we go again." Costa's confidence is sky high, and he clearly believes he has the tools to deal with Kamzat's relentless wrestling and grappling. But here's the reality. While Costa may want a title fight immediately, he may not be next in line. The middleweight division is absolutely stacked with talent. Fighters like Dricus du Plessis, Sean Strickland, and even rising contenders like Imavov and Barhalo are all in the mix. Costa, despite his bold words, might still need to earn his shot with at least one more convincing victory inside the octagon. There's no denying that Costa is a dangerous fighter. He has power, size, and aggression, and his striking has been proven at the highest level. But the UFC doesn't just hand out opportunities based on trash talk and callouts. The question now is whether Costa can back up his words with action, because if he truly wants to face Kamzat, he'll need to show the UFC that he deserves to stand across from the undefeated champion. Before moving to the next news, we have one quick request for you. We're constantly working on improving our content to earn your love and support. That's why we truly appreciate it if you could take just a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Moving on to our second story, Arman Tsarukyan recently revealed something very interesting about Kamzat's last fight, and it gives us a rare look into the mindset of a fighter who has just reached the very top. Tsarukyan, who has trained with Kamzat in the past, explained that during the fight, Kamzat actually wanted to strike more in the later rounds, but his coach stopped him. In a recent interview, Arman explained what went down between rounds 3 and 4. Kamzat turned to his corner and asked if he could move around more in the stand-up. He wanted to mix things up, show off his striking, and perhaps give fans more of the action they were expecting. But his coach quickly shut that idea down, insisting that Kamzat stick to the game plan that was already working perfectly. O'Corman said, before going into the 4th, he asked, "Brother, now can I move around in the stand-up?" I told him no, go in and do the same thing. You're already winning 3-0. Why take unnecessary risks? Stick with the game plan. This small exchange reveals a lot about the mentality of Kamzat and his team. In that moment, the crowd was restless, many fans were booing, and critics were calling the fight boring. A less disciplined fighter might have tried to change things up, chase a knockout, or give the fans something flashy, but that's often how champions lose, by abandoning what's working, just to prove a point. Kamzat showed that he's not just a wrecking ball looking for highlight reels, he's a smart, calculated fighter who listens to his corner and prioritizes victory over entertainment. This discipline is what separates good fighters from great ones. At the championship level, winning is everything. You don't get extra points for crowd-pleasing exchanges if it risks the fight. What Kamzat demonstrated was the ability to trust his team and stick to a system, even when the temptation to do more was strong. That is the sign of a high-level competitor. It also speaks volumes about his coach's influence. A coach's job isn't just to prepare a fighter technically, but also to manage emotions in the heat of battle. When adrenaline is high and the crowd is roaring, a fighter can lose focus. Kamzat's coach kept him grounded, reminding him that the path to victory was already laid out, and Kamzat respected that advice. Fans might debate whether the fight was exciting, but from a technical standpoint, it was a masterclass in control. Kamzat's grappling neutralized his opponent completely. He took no real damage, secured round after round, and proved that he can dominate at the highest level. For the casual audience, it may not have been fireworks, but for those who understand MMA, it was a display of pure discipline and strategy. And this is why Kamzat is such a dangerous champion. He's not only explosive and powerful, but also patient and coachable. He knows when to take risks, and more importantly, when not to. That balance of chaos and control is what makes him elite. Next, we have Paddy Pimblett firing back at fans who criticize Kamzat's fight with Dricus Duplessis. As many of you know, a large portion of the MMA community called that fight boring. Some fans even went as far as to boo during the later rounds, clearly frustrated that the action wasn't as explosive as they had hoped for. But Paddy didn't hold back when addressing that criticism, and he made it very clear where he stands on the matter. Paddy said, "For the casuals, yeah, maybe this wasn't the most fun fight to watch, but for people who actually understand MMA, and for the old school fans, they'll appreciate it. This is the levels of the game, lad." Khamzat's grappling level is so high. His wrestling, his MMA wrestling, it's brilliant. I don't know if I've ever seen a champion dominate like that. Khamzat nearly won every seven of that fight. The crowd might have booed, but it's not Khamzat's fault that Dricus couldn't stop him. That's classic Paddy. He's never been afraid to call it how he sees it, and in this case, he's defending real MMA skill over casual entertainment, and he does have a point. What a lot of casual fans forget is that fighting isn't just about swinging for the fences, trading punches, and going for the knockout every second of the bout. At the highest level, it's about strategy, control, dominance, and minimizing risk while maximizing your chances of victory. When Kamzat was able to take Dricus down almost at will, control him on the ground, and completely neutralize his striking threat, that in itself is a display of world-class skill. Paddy is essentially saying that if you truly understand the sport, then you'll recognize how special that kind of dominance really is. Because let's be real, Dricus isn't just some average fighter. He was the champion. He had proven himself against tough competition. For Kamzat to make him look almost helpless at times, that's not boring, that's brilliance. Sure, it may not get the casual fans out of their seats cheering, but for anyone who trains or studies MMA, watching Kamzat chain his wrestling, maintain control, and shut down Dricus's offense is something to appreciate. It's the difference between someone who just watches for knockouts and someone who actually understands the chess match that's happening inside the octagon. And Paddy's defense of Kamzat also highlights a bigger conversation in MMA. Should fighters always chase entertainment, or should they focus on doing what's necessary to win? History shows us that the greatest champions, whether it's GSP, Khabib, or even Anderson Silva at times, weren't always in wild back and forth wars. More often than not, they dominated their opponents in a way that looked boring to some, but undeniable to those who know the sport. At the end of the day, Kamzat's performance against Dricus might not have been a highlight reel slugfest, but as Paddy Pimblett reminded everyone, it was a masterclass in control and dominance. And if you can dominate a world champion like that, it says a lot more about your skill level than about how entertaining the fight looked to the crowd. Our next story involves Kamzat and Rainier de Reeder, and things are starting to get very interesting. The two have recently gone back and forth online, and it's already creating a buzz among MMA fans. Rainier, the former One Championship double champion, has made it very clear he's eager to step into the octagon and challenge Kamzat for UFC gold. This comes at a time when Nasruddin, Amavov, and Caio Borralho are already battling it out for the official #1 contender spot. So on paper, De Ridder isn't exactly next in line, but according to Damon Martin, De Ridder already wants to skip the line. He's not just calling for the fight, he's ready to sign the contract right now. But here's where things take a twist. According to a tweet posted by Kamzat, he didn't seem fazed at all by De Ridder's confidence. The supposed Rainier De Ridder account reacted directly to Kamzat's message, writing, "Congrats on the belt, but I'll show you what true grappling dominance looks like. Sign the contract." Kamzat fired right back with his usual swagger, replying, "I'm gonna make you look like a white belt." Habibi, it looked like the start of a real online feud between the two, something that could potentially build hype toward an actual fight. But then came the big revelation, that Rainier De Ridder account. It turned out to be fake. It wasn't even the real De Ridder sending those messages. This fake account has apparently been around for weeks and has been tricking fans and fighters alike. Unbelievably, it even fooled Paulo Costa earlier, and now it managed to trick Kamzat himself. It just goes to show how careful fighters have to be when engaging online, because even at the highest level, trolls can stir up fake drama. Seriously guys, if you come across that account, block it. Once the dust settled, the actual Rainier De Ridder finally addressed the situation. He went on Submission Radio and spoke openly about the potential matchup with Kamzat. Unlike the fake tweets, his comments were respectful but confident. De Ridder said, "I have some sneaky stuff from the bottom. I think I can really make it tough on him once I put him on his back. I believe I have a good chance in this fight." And this is where things get really interesting for the fans. De Ridder brings a very unique skill set. He's a high-level grappler with championship experience outside the UFC. Stylistically, it could be a fascinating matchup, especially since Kamzat has built his entire reputation on being one of the most dominant wrestlers in the sport. It would be strength versus technique, dominance versus creativity. So here's the big question. What would you rather see? Would you prefer a rematch between Khamzat and Dricus Duplessis, a fight with a built-in rivalry and unfinished business? Or are you more intrigued by something completely new, a fresh matchup with Rainier De Ridder, a man who truly believes he can test Khamzat's grappling like no one else? Moving on to Jon Jones, he recently reacted to Dana White's comments after UFC 319, and as always, anything involving Jones creates a storm of conversation in the MMA world. Following the event, Dana was asked directly about the UFC's long-rumored White House hair, an event that has already sparked massive speculation. Many fans believe that if such a historic card took place, Jon Jones would be the perfect man to headline it. However, Dana made it absolutely clear during the post-fight press conference that Jon Jones would not be leading that show. Dana didn't just downplay the possibility, he shut it down completely, saying, "If I had to make odds, it's 1,000,000,000 to 1 that Jon Jones headlines that card." That statement might have discouraged a lesser fighter, but Jones didn't let it shake him. Instead, he responded with calm confidence on social media. He wrote, "Despite the odds, I'm still training and optimistic about the possibility of being part of the White House event. At the end of the day, Dana is the boss. It's his call whether I fight that night or not, but I know he was excited about the fight, and the door isn't completely closed. That's all a guy like me really needs." Sometimes in life, you don't reach everything you set out to do, and that's okay, but I like my chances. After all, 1 in a billion is exactly what it took to become Jon Bones Jones in the first place. Those are powerful words from the man widely considered the greatest of all time. Jones is reminding the world not only of his resilience, but also of the improbable journey that made him who he is. From becoming the youngest champion in UFC history, to dominating the light heavyweight division for over a decade, Jones has always thrived when the odds were stacked against him. Of course, this isn't the first time Dana White has said something bold about Jon Jones and his future. Longtime fans remember 2016, right after the disaster of UFC 2000. That was when the highly anticipated main event between Jones and Daniel Cormier collapsed at the very last moment, sending shockwaves across the sport. At that time, Dana was furious and went as far as to say that Jones would never headline another pay-per-view again. Yet history tells a different story, because Jones not only returned but headlined multiple massive cards afterward. Dana eventually changed his stance, and the rest is history. So the big question now is, will this be any different? Dana says 1 in a billion, but with Jon Jones betting against him has never been a safe move. Finally, let's talk about Islam Makhachev and Jon Jones reacting to Kamzat's massive title win. Ever since Kamzat burst onto the scene back in 2020, fans felt it was only a matter of time before he got his hands on UFC gold. His dominance in those early fights, finishes in just a few minutes, barely taking a single strike, had people calling him a future champion right away. The only surprise was that it took him a few extra years to finally get there. But now that he's achieved it, Kamzat joins a very exclusive and elite club of fighters who have captured a UFC championship while still remaining undefeated. Fighters like Israel Adesanya, in his early run, Ilia Topuria, and a select few others managed to accomplish the same. With this victory, Kamzat now has the platform to continue building his legacy if he stays healthy, stays active, and keeps racking up wins against the top names. There's little doubt that by the end of his career, people will be debating his place among the all-time greats, the GOATs of MMA. Even before stepping into his first title fight, Kamzat openly admitted that his biggest inspiration throughout his journey was Jon Jones, widely considered one of the greatest fighters in UFC history. So when Kamzat finally got the belts wrapped around his waist, it meant even more that Jon himself took the time to acknowledge it. Jones went on X early Sunday morning, posting a simple but powerful message: "Congratulations, Wolf," coming from a fighter who defined an entire era of dominance. That one word of respect carried a lot of weight. But Jon wasn't the only champion to show respect. Islam Makhachev, the current lightweight king, also sent his congratulations, and what makes Islam's message even more significant is the rocky history he and Kamzat shared. Fans remember the incident involving Abubakar Nurmagomedov at a previous UFC event, where things almost spiraled out of control between their camps. There was clear tension back then, and many assumed the two might never see eye to eye again. Yet, when Kamzat claimed gold, Islam put all that aside. On his Instagram story, he wrote, "Congratulations, it was sure to happen." Short, direct, but filled with genuine acknowledgement. That kind of respect shows maturity and recognition of Kamzat's undeniable skill. The fact that two champions, Jon Jones and Islam Makhachev, both paid their respects highlights just how impactful Kamzat's rise truly is. This isn't just another fighter winning a belt, this is a signal that a new era might be beginning, one where Khamzat Chimaev could define the future of the sport.